Good afternoon and welcome. You're listening live to Heart, a program which aims to help you understand and to become your loving self. I'm Dr. Mitra Rashidian. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified sexologist in full-time private practice located in Encino, California, offering this program to you at KMET 1490 AM, ABC News Radio Live. And here I have with me, as always, Dr. Robert Jaffe, who's also a psychotherapist, a certified hypnotherapist, and my very best friend and colleague and business partner for the past, and I'm so grateful to say, 18 years now.
18 years.
18
Wow.
years, yes.
Wow.
And, if I have to go back and change anything, I wouldn't find anything. So, but actually, we still have just a few more days, after New Year. I remember it was 2004.
2004. Wow.
Yes, yes.
How time flies.
Yes, how time flies.
Exactly. And it flies especially more quickly as we get older.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Right? Yes.
Yeah, and a friend of mine gave an explanation for that. My friend said, and I don't know, this could be accurate. My friend said that time goes quicker when we get older because it's measured in our minds in relationship to how many years we've lived already.
Yeah.
So if we at 10 years old and we've only been living 10 years, a year is a lot higher. It's like 10% of our lives is 1 year, right? But at 50, it's quite a bit less, and then at 60 and 70, even more so. So it feels much like it goes by super quickly.
Exactly. I mean, we know that if we tell a 5-year-old to wait for an hour, they say, an hour? Oh my God, that's such a long time. But for us at our age, an hour is like less than a second.
Yeah.
It just flies away.
Flies
and, I just say, my goodness, an hour went by and I haven't done my work yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so it's perceptions, right?
Right.
I mean, time doesn't change. An hour is an hour, in a physics law, but when it comes to our perceptions of losing more times and fast as we age, it becomes kind of how did this happen?
Oh yeah, looking in the mirror and going, gee, weren't any lines there last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago there weren't any lines.
Yeah, no, I've been asking myself, these days, I think I need to smile more often so that my wrinkles don't show up. But then again, when I smile, okay, the other wrinkles show up. So, and there is no cream in the world that can take away aging,
Right,
so.
But I'd rather have smile wrinkles than frown wrinkles.
Exactly. So, we do the best that we can, but sometimes, you wonder where and how the years went, by so fast. And here we are in almost 2020. Tomorrow is Christmas. So Merry Christmas to all of you who celebrate Christmas. And I do wish you a joyful one, and Christmas is a time that people come together, families come together, lovers come together, friends come together. Everybody that we love, we find a way to be together. And that's globally. And, I do wish you all a safe one, a good one, a happy one, a joyful one. And it's time to get ready for 2020, 22, God forbid 2020, for 2022. And I do wish you, a best year ever, ahead of you. And
that's great. Interestingly, as you were saying that about what, what ideally Christmas is in terms of people coming together, I was thinking not for everybody.
Well, yeah, that's my impression. Yeah.
Yeah, not for everybody. And so, you and I decided we were going to talk about sexual compatibility today, and I think that's an excellent topic, and certainly one that's in our book that we talk about.
Yeah, that is going to be, in our first ebook.
Our first ebook. Yes. We're also writing a complete book entitled "Not Tonight, Honey, I Have a Headache." And it's all about sexuality and sexual relationships and how to make them better. But I also, as you were talking about Christmas, and I was thinking it's not true for everybody. I thought perhaps we can maybe talk about that for a few minutes.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, and for many people, Christmas is not a real happy time. Number one, they may not have close friends or relatives, that they choose to spend time with, or that's not conflicted. You know, you may have friends and relatives that you're around, but you have conflicting feelings about being there. That's one possibility. Another is that you were raised in a family environment where Christmas brought on a lot of stress.
Yes.
And if that's the case, then the way that human beings operate is we are symbolic creatures, and things symbolize uh, everything to us. I mean, even our words, it's just sounds, but there's some symbolic of meaning. That's why we have so many different languages, because and we can't understand somebody else's language. It just sounds sort of like gibberish to us. But all it is simply sounds that we make that are that are signifying ideas, right? And so with Christmas, if you've had problematic Christmases in the past, or this time of year is not the happiest one for you, um, first of all, you're not alone. A lot of people are in that same boat. I'm not saying that so that you feel, I mean, it may make you feel a little better, but it doesn't really solve it. But the most important thing about it is to recognize that that was then and this is now. And even though you may not have friends and family that you feel like you want to spend this time with, you can begin to celebrate your Christmas in a different way. If you happen to be with someone that you do want to be with this time, or even if you're alone, you can talk to yourself differently about it. And self-talk is one of the main ways that we create emotions. We all have two parts to every moment that we are observing something. The two parts, one is the perception of it, meaning that we're like looking at the car moving. We see the buildings going by. We see other cars around us. Those are perceptions that come in through our senses. And then the second part is the meaning that we put on it, which is determined by our attitude. And so whatever we see, whatever is in front of us, we have an attitude towards. The attitude is usually positive, negative, or neutral. And the attitude is something that we can affect.
Hmm.
Our perceptions are just what our senses are taking in. So we all pretty much have similar perceptions of things. When we see the cloud coming in, everybody kind of sees the same cloud coming in, but not everybody has the same emotion and same uh, and same belief about the meaning of the cloud. We put our belief onto things. And so if we believe, for example, that Christmas is a stressful time because we've had many stressful times, we put that belief onto the perception of it being Christmas, and all of a sudden we don't feel good. We don't feel good because we are remembering the past. We are imposing that memory on the now moment, and then it informs how we feel about it.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. It's our perception and life experiences that guide us today into what meanings to give to our moments to
Hmm.
come, or to our present moments.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so what we do is we actually create our present moment through the beliefs that we put onto it. If my belief is that Christmas is a stressful time, then my attitude is going to be negative. And no matter what it is actually like in this moment, I'm still going to be putting my attitude out, and my attitude is going to create the experience that I have. And so, if I believe that Christmas time is a stressful time, and I am anticipating that, I can unconsciously, subconsciously, sometimes even consciously create that experience the way I believe it to be.
Yes.
So our beliefs inform so much of what goes on in our lives. If we have a belief about, for example, um, the way men are, the way women are, what causes us to be attracted to different people, that belief can inform our attitude and our feelings, and that affects how we interact in the world.
And the magic and the secret of being attracted to each other, I don't know if that has been discovered. What makes two people become attracted together?
Mm-hmm.
And then when we have seen several couples that we ask ourselves on the first glance, well, what brought these two together?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right? I mean, we see this handsome guy that's, is a partner, is a romantic partner with somebody, but with a female who's not attractive at all.
Mm-hmm.
Or we see this gorgeous woman who is married to this man that physically they're not even closely comparable.
Right.
Or at all.
Right.
But they are attracted to each other. They have the best chemistry. They have the best sex. They have the best romance. And then we see two people that they are both attractive and they have a miserable life together.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly.
So there's a secret to attractiveness, and that attractiveness impacts, sexual compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Am I correct? I mean,
yes.
You are definitely, somebody with more, experience in this area, and so we're going to elaborate about this. But sexual compatibility, as we have talked about it in our ebook as part of why women say that, why women say, not tonight, honey, I have a headache,
mm-hmm.
right? It's an issue that frequently comes up in couple therapy.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So I want to kind of say one or two things about what brings people together. There is a new science, new when I'm going to say new, it's probably now 40 or 50 years old, but it's relatively new in psychology, and they call it neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. Been around for quite a while. The person who uses it the most and is the most famous person who uses NLP is Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins uses it a lot in the way that he interacts with people, and he teaches it a lot. And basically, there's a lot to it, but I'm going to say the main thing about NLP is people take in information in several different ways. Most people, the majority of people, take in information through their eyes, so they are visual. And so when you can tell that somebody is visual by the kind of language that they use. I can see that. Yes, I have a vision of that. They will use visual words to describe it, and so that's like one subset of them. The other two we will continue to talk about after we come back from our commercial break.
Yes.
We're hoping this is enjoyable and enlightening for you, and please stay with us.
Welcome back from our commercial break. This is Heart to Heart program at KMET 1490 AM, ABC News Radio Live. Dr. Mitra and Dr. Robert here offering you a program about human sexuality, codependency, trauma, and addictions. And tonight we're talking about a chapter of our book. That's an ebook actually, and the title of that is Not Tonight, Honey, I Have a Headache. And we are talking about the sexual compatibility aspect of it this evening, and we hope that you can enjoy this program and take what works for you with you, and we would like to invite you also to call us. Our number here is 951-922-3532, and you're also more than welcome to use our private information to contact us, and they are appearing on the screen as we speak. So, and we know it's Christmas, so happy Christmas, Merry Christmas to all of you, and we hope that you have a joyful one. We were talking about during commercial break about a group of people that they may not enjoy Christmas because of their prior experiences, and we wish them all of you to have a Merry Christmas. So
right, and so talking about not people not enjoying Christmas, we moved on to the subject of how our minds operate from past experiences, yes. And that often we create our present experiences out of the past,
right.
And we don't recognize that we don't have to do that. We recognize that our imagination can create, our imagination is what is the creative part of us,
right.
And we can actually create something different for ourselves. And how to do that, of course, that's the in my era they would have a show called the $64,000 question, which is more like $1 million today. But that's the $64,000 question: is how do you do that? How do you create new experiences for yourself? But so what we went on to talk about was sexual compatibility, and how does that happen?
Mm-hmm.
And I started to talk about NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and I commented that Tony Robbins is a very big utilizer and user of NLP in his work and in helping people. And in NLP, they say that we all take in information through one of several modalities. One is through our eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And so people who take in information mostly through their eyes, I mean, we all take in information in all different ways, but if we take in information mostly through our eyes, we are then usually visual learners. And we remember things sometimes in visual images. So people sometimes say, you know what, I can't visualize. If I close my eyes, all I see is black. And so I would say, okay, well then you are probably not highly visual in your learning style. That doesn't mean you can't become more visual. You
right.
can, but it means that you just take in information differently than visual. What other ways do people take in information? Well, one, of course, is through our hearing, right? So some people who take in information through their hearing use words like "that sounds good."
Mm-hmm.
You know, I believe that when people are sound learners, then they take in information more through listening, and so they can absorb that information more easily than someone who is a visual learner. That does not mean that again, we can't be both. The third most powerful way that we take in information is actually not through one of our senses, but it's through our feelings.
Right.
And our feelings are inside of us, but we all have them, and we can all access them. But people who learn through their feelings, we call kinesthetic learners. So there's audio,
visual.
There's audio, there's visual, and then there's kinesthetic. We've also learned since original NLP, those were the three basic ones, since original NLP, we've also learned that smell is very powerful, and that many people take in a lot of information through their sense of smell. But with kinesthetic and feeling people, they have feelings, physical feelings in their body. They get hot, they get cold, they get goosebumps. They start to feel pressure behind their eyes. They get sad. They feel light in their chest. They get bubbly. And so this is all different ways of taking in information. How does this relate to who's attracted to whom? Well, people who take in information in the same way have more in common than people who take in information in different ways. So if I'm, let's say, high on the kinesthetic feeling part of it, and you're high on the kinesthetic feeling part of it, we're more likely to be talking the same language
Absolutely. Yes.
using words like that. So that's one way that of sexual compatibility. Um, Another powerful way is in cultural background, right? So, for example, I'm Jewish, and I was raised culturally Jewish, meaning that we had a lot of Jewish humor. We learned a lot of things about the Jews in Jewish history, and so when I'm with a Jewish person and I make a joke, that Jewish person is more likely to get the joke,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
Because we're
Yes.
speaking the same language.
And it's familiar.
And it's familiar.
So familiarity is one of the
Yes.
way that people become attracted to each other.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So the issue of who, who attracts who has so many elements that I don't think it's ever going to come down to, oh, this is the formula to be attractive. Because I think that being unique as a human being, and each of us having our unique upbringing, not only our unique upbringing, but also the way that our upbringing is filtered through our unique personality and the way that we view the world. Each person has a unique take on everything. So you can be
Yes.
raised with like my two granddaughters. They're both twins. They're both exactly the same age, but they're going to both have different experiences, even though they're if you looked at them, it looks like they're having the same experience. But when they're both at the park, they're having different experiences because it's being filtered through their own unique perception and ideas.
And yeah, what's really interesting here to note that in attractiveness is not something that we can design.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can design to look attractive, right? But that's not the attractiveness I'm talking about. I'm talking about the sexual compatibility attractiveness. It's not something that can be designed. It's not something that we can enforce. It's not something that we can work on it even. It's just it happens or it doesn't happen.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And I mean, the happening of it or not happening of it has a lot to do with what you just described so so openly. And then when we hear from people that how to make themselves look attractive so that somebody that they have in mind to to pay attention to them or anything, the attention they may get, right, whether male or female, they can get the attention of the person that they want to get, but that doesn't mean that makes them a sexual compatible couple.
Right.
Right. So there is a difference between whether one person is attractive or not, and then through that can become a sexual compatible person with somebody else. It's just like I said at the beginning, it's one of the secrets of life. How do people really become attractive to each other, and how to we see so many people talk about love at the first sight. Right. Love at the first sight happens, but then again, many of those love also disappear within a very short time.
Right. Because many times, and we're not saying this is true all the time, because nothing is true all the time. But many times, love at first sight has to do with projections.
Yes.
Which means that you look and you're acting exactly like the person I want to marry or I want to be with. You have that particular those facial features. You have that particular body, the way that you move, the sound of your voice. That's all like an A+ for me. And so when that happens, then I might mistake that for love.
Yes.
Really, to me, what you're talking about is simply strong attraction.
Yes.
So you have a strong attraction to the person. Love to me goes deeper, means that you know who this person is. And that, of course, you can be attracted to the person. You can stay up all night and talk with the person about who they are and who you are. And you can have a wonderful experience. And you may love that experience. But the person is multi-layered. We are all multi-layered.
Absolutely.
And so no matter how much time you spend talking to the person, for how long, you're still getting to know the person. Now, if you're very attracted to the person and you keep spending time with that person, learning and understanding how that person operates, they're doing the same with you, and you feel more and more attracted, at some point you say, this is love. And because you've gone through a process where you've evaluated how you feel being with that person, and when you're with that person, you feel really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even love is not something again to arrange. Love also is a concept that evolves on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when couples get together and they madly feel in love towards each other, or they madly become compassionate or passionate about each other, and sex happens and they think, wow, where have you been all my life, and this is the one and everything. That's not sexual compatibility. They may be at the surface level a sense of sexual compatibility, but if sexual compatibility in relationship, right, it's only based on sexual compatibility, a deep relationship may not happen.
It may not happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes sexual compatibility comes first,
right,
and usually it comes first as a result of enough yeses going on in our mind with the person, where we feel drawn to the person, and our mind and body is saying, yes, I want to get close to this person,
and we feel that's the one. This person is the one, right? But once that initial thirst of being together, I would call it, is satisfied, right? Then the actuality of each other comes to the surface. The likes and the dislikes, the wants and the not the things that we don't want. So it's not really so when we talk about sexual compatibility, we need to understand, are we talking about in the context of a relationship, in the context of love, or is just a context of two people who are attracted to each other, they just want to have sex?
Right. And of course, people are complex, and what they want can vary, and so really it doesn't serve us to make comparisons as to saying which is better or which is worse. Is it somebody who wants a lot of one night stands, or somebody who's what we call a serial monogamous person? They go from one person to another. They may stay with that person for a period of time, a month, a year, 5 years, and then they move on to somebody else. A serial monogamous, that's what I was trying to say. We're not here to judge whether that person is really doing the right thing or the wrong thing, but our goal really is to help people to understand themselves well enough and to be comfortable with who they are, so that they can present who they are to the other person honestly.
Yes.
Yeah. Because.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No. Okay. So to allow ourselves to be who we are in a sexual relationship is one of the key factors of sexual compatibility, right? Some people, in particular female, they kind of fall in the trap of societal expectations.
Mm-hmm.
They fall in the trap of commercials and what makes them attractive, what attractiveness is all about,
Mm-hmm.
right? Uh, if I can tell the number of times that I've gone to out to eat, or I've gone to movie theater, or I have just seen random couples that it clearly it's very evident that they are on a date together,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so the woman you see, usually she's all made up, head to toe, wearing these very uncomfortable high heel shoes,
Mm-hmm.
right? With all that, hairdo and everything. And clearly she's gone through so much of a time and aggravations, and even maybe happy to do that, to look attractive for,
Mm-hmm.
for her partner,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you see the partner so relaxed, even in tennis shoes sometimes, like they couldn't care less that any of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and you wonder, how these two can be sexually comparable when one went through so much of an effort to be who actually she's not, and one is just, himself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So let's talk more about this right after our commercial break. And please
Yes.
don't forget to call us 951-922-3532. We want to know about your experiences and your story.
Any questions, we're happy to answer as we can, and we're looking forward to talking with you during this hour. Talk to you soon.
Welcome back from our commercial break. Dr. Mitra and Dr. Robert here at KMET 1490 AM, ABC News Radio Live. This is Heart to Heart program, and it's Christmas time. Merry Christmas to all of you, and we hope that you have a joyful, safe one. And however you're spending it, we hope that you have fun with that. We have been talking about sexual compatibility as part of our first ebook that's going to be published soon. The name of our actual book is Not Tonight, Honey, I Have a Headache. So we were talking about when couples go out of their way to make themselves look attractive, and they think that attractiveness is that.
Yes, yes. And so, again, we're not going to make any judgments, because it isn't for one person to judge another.
It's part of the culture. Culture makes you believe that in order to be attractive, you have to follow certain, procedures.
Yeah, and especially for women.
Yes.
Yeah, especially for women.
So I fall in that trap sometimes myself.
Well, in order to not be ostracized in the culture, we need to conform to certain rules, and some of those rules are how you're supposed to present yourself physically in the world, right? But what I wanted to say about the idea of going out to dinner, the woman dressing up to the nines and the man not. If it depends on what kind of relationship they have, and whether they've had any discussion about what they like.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, if the man says, "I love it when you dress to the nines," and the woman says, "Oh, well, that's great, but I don't really care how you dress. I love you any way you're dressed," then that would be fine, right? Because she's doing something to please him, and he doesn't have to do anything to please her in terms of the way he dresses. Now, she may have other things that she wants from him, other than the way that he dresses, and as long as she's putting that out there and he wants to please her, then that's fine. It's not. Right. It's not. But I think the reality of the dressing is a lot of times more that we are trying to I'm going to say please the culture.
Right.
Yeah, and we make assumptions as to how it's going to be perceived by other people or by the opposite sex.
Well, as part of the culture, the partners, both partners are usually part of the same culture. So whatever cultural messages one partner receives, the other partner receives cultural messages that they are specific to him or her.
Right.
Right. And then sometimes, the couples are actually from two completely distinct cultures, right?
Different cultures.
Different cultures, right? Like one is from the east, one is from the west, one is from the south, one is from the north, right? So those are, by themselves, but it can initiate the initial sexual compatibility and attractiveness. But then again, like you said, and being born and raised in a Jewish culture, and how that that can be different from something else, right? So different cultures, bring together. If two people are from two different cultures, that sense of unfamiliarity, right, that may actually not be as attractive, because part of attractiveness is feeling safe with each other.
Correct.
Right. If you don't feel safe with each other in that sense, right? Like I have seen couples that I myself, I'm from a different culture originally, right? And I have seen people of my culture have married people who are from the mainstream culture. There is always the sense of, or most of the time I have received reports that there is this sense of fear that what if he or she takes off and goes back? So concepts like this are impactful on our sexual attractiveness,
right,
on our sense of safety, on our sense of, whether I can feel safe enough, free enough to show my sexuality and to be sexual compatible with a person. Or do I need at some level to keep a guard right here so that I don't get hurt in the event of something happens, who knows what, right? So sexual compatibility, we're not just looking for how sex is playful between two people, how it's not, just about our physics or just not about anything else, but it also a lot has to do with how we are familiar with each other, how much we feel safe with each other, and how much we can therefore be open and be ourselves with each other, right?
Yes.
If that is not present, no matter how attractive the two people are, it doesn't really do anything. It does it for temporarily, but essentially we are human, and our true original sense of self will emerge at some point in the relationship.
Correct.
Right? And then that's when, if there is a love, it will show. If there is a sexual compatibility, it will show. If there is an attractiveness, it will show. If it's a true of any of that exists, it will show, right? But if it has been based on, in different needs that brought two people together, right, it will go away as fast as it showed up. Right? So cultures play an important role here in terms of, the attractiveness, sexual compatibility, togetherness, and these are some of the concepts that we usually don't see being talked about.
So what's mostly talked about is the external, and the top layer of attractiveness, which is the physical. The reason for that is because we can monetize anything that's physical.
Exactly.
So if you buy this particular perfume, if you wear this style of shoes, if you wear this pantyhose, these slacks, this dress, you are going to be attractive. And if you're attractive, people will want you. And if you're wanted, you're going to feel very good in the world.
Yes.
And so so they can't talk about the intangibles, because the intangibles cannot be monetized. And so our society runs on the transfer of money.
Exactly.
So and it has a very, very powerful impact on individuals who aren't well educated and don't realize that this is what's going on. It's sort of like they're being brainwashed, and they really believe, the children really believe that if they don't have the designer jeans, they're not going to be part of the in crowd. And actually that becomes true. because the people who do have those designer genes tell the people who don't, where'd you get those jeans? In a thrift shop, and they try to humiliate them and they try and shame them. So the child comes home crying and wants those jeans, and so the monetization of it becomes the main reason why attractiveness seems so shallow.
Exactly. I mean, how many times we see commercial of jeans, for example, that how wearing these jeans will make a male or female look sexy, right? So how could a piece of fabric make somebody look sexy? Because sexiness is also something within a person.
Right.
I mean, physics, okay, has something to do with it. I mean, I'm not going to deny the physical, beauty, or the fit body and all of that. I don't deny that, but those will go away. Become so ordinary after a while. So who the person is the most attractive.
And so if the person feels insecure,
right,
then one way of fixing it, the person believes, is to create the illusion of beauty through the use of buying things that are the right type of jeans, as you say, the right type of shoes. They're going to compensate for their lack of feeling good inside about themselves. And then and again, how do you monetize feeling good inside about yourself unless you're selling CDs on how to feel better about yourself?
Right. I mean, what you said, is important. For example, we have seen that women were usually, to look sexy, to look attractive, black. Right. So there's a belief that if a woman wears black, they look skinnier, they look more fit, they look more attractive, they look more sexy. And but how much of that really is true?
Yeah, how much of it is true?
How much of it is true?
Well,
unless we believe what we are told.
Well, how do you define true?
Yeah.
Right. How do you define true? It's true when you act and believe that it's true. So if you wear sexy black pants, and the guy you're trying to attract believes that sexy black pants make you sexy, then it becomes true at that time in that situation. But sex in and of itself cannot be found in an object. Sex the sexiest part of the body, as many people have said, is between our ears. It's how our brain views things and how our brain makes sense of things.
Right.
And so if you want to be more sexy, the first question is why and for whom? Right? Because if you say I want to attract the right kind of man, are you wanting to attract a man who wants you to have those sexy black pants, right?
And look in a size that he likes you to be.
Exactly. So I am good enough the way I am. That's the mantra that I would like people to start saying to themselves. I am good enough. That does not mean I'm perfect. That does not mean that I can't improve. And that doesn't mean that I don't want to improve. But I'm good enough the way I am. And when we come from backgrounds that call that into question, or worse yet, make you feel as though that isn't true, then we look for things to compensate that with, and sexy clothing and jewelry and all of that becomes part of it.
Exactly. I mean, and as we can see, women usually spend more time and more money and more energy and have more focus on decorating themselves.
Yeah.
And men do not have that. So the question becomes, why is that?
Well, again, I want to say that we're talking about power.
Yes.
Power, external power in the world is what the world runs on. If you need evidence for that, we are the most powerful nation because we have the biggest army, right? We can blow up the world, 100,000 times over, and the next power can only blow up the world 90,000 times over, right? So we are more powerful, and so power, external power, becomes the thing that runs the world, and men have external power when through the use of their physical strength, and that transfers into bringing home more antelope and more animals that we can cook for the food, which in today's society means money.
Right.
Right. Money, and also positions of power, such as in government and in business. So external power runs the world. Women's external power traditionally has come from their physicality and their beauty, and so that still is running the world.
Yes, and that has been promoted by different cultures. It has been promoted, by different, organizations, and like you said, it still is controls the world.
It's still, yeah.
Yes.
So to me, the task is not to try to change the world. The task is to try to understand yourself and ask, how do you want to operate in this world? Even given that we have this thing where women's power is in their physicality, men's power is in their monetary and what they do for a living, those two things. How do you want to operate in a way that is beneficial to your authentic true self, where you can still fit in, because you don't want to be ostracized. Nobody wants to be ostracized. So you can still fit in, but you're also fitting in as a secondary goal. The first goal being, I want to find out who I really am, and what makes me tick, and what makes me happy, and that may or may not be the attaining of external power.
Exactly. Well, we can talk about this subject for hours and hours and hours.
And we just started.
And then, unfortunately, our time is over for tonight.
Yes.
Right. So, enjoy your holidays. Be safe. Be well. And don't forget that all you need is love.
All you need is love, and have a great Christmas.
Have a great Christmas.
Talk to you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.